Welcome back to Apollo Justice. Today we're going into the first trial of the final case.
Well, we will now begin the trial of the remission. Is the okay? His voice is all raspy and he's looking around all nervous like, repercussions of today's trial will most likely be felt for a long time and may indeed alter our legal system forever.
Today is a test of the jury system and the first step toward the new order in our courts.
Daddy's secret mission.
The jurors will function like a jury. It is hoped that their inclusion will help the courts to better reflect the people's will. Why aren't there any jurors in the courtroom? Closed-circuit cameras watch this courtroom at all times. The jurors have access to everything that transpires. Jurist, Judge Well, and Judge Cool.
Now see here, Professor Gavin.
Professor?
Prosecutor Gavin. I'm sorry, I was going to say that.
My apologies there, Judge.
Jurist, today, judge today's trial, coolly, if you would be so kind.
The jurors are unbound by the letter of the law. They don't affect the trial with evidence, but by their feelings. And we're about to find out just what effect they're going to have.
Very well, Prosecutor Gavin. The details of the case, if you would.
The victim is the painter Drew Bisham. He was killed in his own studio. His coffee was poisoned. By whom, you ask? By none other than the defendant, Mary Bisham. There wasn't any poison in the coffee! Octon, someone has been doing their homework. Indeed, poison was not present in the coffee, but on the mug itself.
The mug? Residue was found on the rim, I see.
The autopsy report describes the manner of the victim's death.
The court accepts this as evidence.
Here's the autopsy report. Death by atrocity poisoning. Estimated time of death 9 to 9:30 p.m.
According to this report, the victim's death was caused by strychnine poisoning.
A chemical compound that does not occur naturally. Lethal dosage is a mere 0.002 milligrams. A touch of strychnine in the body is the touch of the Reaper's scythe.
Very well, Prosecutor Gavin, you may present your witness.
I have for you today a simple man for a simple case. A man who witnessed the murder in its entirety. A journalist, no doubt. The witness will state his name and occupation.
Oh, God.
Right. Well, for starters, my name's Spark Brushel. My job is a lone observer of the world.
In other words, a freelance journalist, right?
If you don't mind, I'd like to state something here for the record.
Yes, Mr. Brushel.
I dislike conclusions, specifically the aspect of jumping to conclusions. Preconceptions make park sandbox of endless desert waste, end quote.
But you are a journalist. You said so yourself yesterday.
Well, that's true, yes. but you must understand, I stand before you today, a man with a dream. And I'm offering you my testimony in exchange for exclusive rights to the story. Scoop turns Mr. Brushel into that Mr. Brushel, end quote.
Let's hear your testimony then, shall we?
Simple case. Hey, Gavin? For me, the jury is still out. I'll say that again after, in my closing statement. Be cool.
Yeah, I visited the studio around 9 that night to do the interview. The first outsider to enter the atelier, journalist history made, end quote. His daughter brought us coffee right after we started, and you know what happened next? As a star falls, end quote. No one else entered the room besides her the whole time.
That does sound like a simple case. Unless you were the one who poisoned him.
What are you saying, Judge?
Need I remind you the cameras are rolling today? I felt the need to be a bit dramatic.
You didn't do it, did you?
Do a thing like that? Come on, that's like newsmaker making the news, end quote, or even contemporary witch hunt, end quote. I know, wild accusations, rock courtroom, end quote.
Look, indeed.
Prosecutor Gavin sure looks like he's having fun.
I'm so happy for him.
Very well, Mr. Justice, your cross-examination, please.
I visited the studio around 9 at night to do the interview. 9 at night? Isn't that a little late for an interview?
If the great painter Drew Misham says come at 9, believe you me, I go at 9. The first thing is you started our last interview with such a prolific painter.
Right. Can you tell us what it was like when you arrived? The first outsider into the atelier, journalistic history made in claim. You were the first reporter ever in Drew's studio.
Posterity will look back on that night as a turning point in journalistic history, basically significant step for all mankind, but a giant step for that Brushel guy, you quote,
If no one on the outside ever had access to the studio, it would serve to reason that the deed was done by an insider, by which he means Vera did it. So, how did this epoch-making interview go? His daughter brought us her coffee right after we started. Would you mind being a little more specific?
Ooh, let me tell you, I enjoy a cuppa. In fact, it all began when I was in 3rd grade. No, wait, 4th grade?
That's not what I meant! I believe I know what Florent was driving at. This coffee the victim was served. Did anyone other than the defendant touch it? Right, that's what I was going to say, Philly.
Well, now, if you got a question to ask, you best straight up ask it. That's what I tell all the new recruits several times if necessary. Write for a great school, or right, that's my motto. Which isn't to say I can only write grade school level stuff, mind you.
Who touched the coffee?
I don't know. I was in the back looking at the studio's equipment when she served it.
And what happened next? And you know what happened next for Star Falls, end quote. What's this about a star falling?
Star Falls, It's like an old telegram. Send money, over. Xiaowi, you don't know? That's like a journalism code word. An important personage passes away. A star falls, get it? There's no gravity in space, is there? I wouldn't think stars could fall, really.
Does this matter?
Oh boy, this is good stuff, How about star breaks? Nah, lacks punch, I know. Star dies, nah, lacks imagination, Of course, you could go with Drew, die straight to the point. I like it,
I think we need to hear about something a little more substantial.
Brussels coffee, moment of death, And the star's coffee, moment of death,
A moment of death? Okay. About when Mr. Misham passed away.
Oh boy, what a scene that was. He puts his coffee mug down with the crash, right?
Yes, and then
the cold finger of death touches his spine like flame sputters and fails. So cold was that touch he could do not but tremble uncontrollably. Actually, life's flame is a little tired. Life's river froze over. Yes, that's a go. He's starting his article already.
Could you describe that a little more simply?
Well, as you can imagine, I was pretty surprised, And he hit the floor, as they say, artist seizure, his final performance, end quote,
I just noticed the way he blinks. It's like a lizard.
Yeah, it's from the bottom.
Fucking terrible. I reckon it paralyzes the central nervous system. The body arches back like a bow. limbs tremble,
That's quite enough, that!
The throat burns, yes, of course.
Some of us want to be able to sleep tonight. What's the pain?
Oh, yeah. Well, I want details. Lots of juicy details.
But then you can listen to our last year's hit single, Trickling, My Love, by the Cavaliers, available at all major music outlets.
The point here is that the victim died of a strychnine poisoning. Well, Mr. Justice, how did you find that testimony?
Very important.
Well, as an account of the moment of the victim's death, I say it's very important. Please add it to the testimony.
Very well, the court requests witness add this account to his testimony.
Oh, those spasms, that was definitely death by poison.
You say it was definitely death by poison? How can you be so sure?
Oh, hey, look, I'm a journalist, seen a lot of things. And I've had more than my share of experience with so-called poisons. Man eats fishy fish, goes bye-bye, end quote.
Poisoning doesn't count. Gotta get him to talk about something else. You were wrong, it's a Star's coffee.
Star's coffee?
You said that Mr. Bishop had the coffee too, but did you actually see him drink the coffee?
Of course. He who sees it wins it, but he who says it wins bigger, end quote. I live in a man sees dog eat dog and writes about it world yet.
Yet?
I guess I can't say I saw him drink it really. He had one so-called sip. If that man puts lips to mug drinks, end quote.
That poison is quite virulent, I hear.
My stomach did a so-called somersault. Since I gulped down that coffee without so much as a second glance at it. Maybe something's there, some kind of so-called trick. Anyone want to venture a guess for the record?
Does this guy have a pause button?
Well, Mr. Justice, did you find that testimony valuable?
You do. The victim drank his coffee, then immediately fell over?
Oh, yes, you can go to press with that one.
Your Honor! This is a vital piece of information. Please add it to the testimony.
Very well, the witness will add this to his testimony.
Vital, right? He had one sip, if that. The next moment, he's on the floor.
So he either took a sip or he didn't, and then fell over.
Oh yes, indubitably, just like that. Wham bam. Wham bam.
The Mr. Bishop drank the coffee and fell over immediately. I think Bush was telling the truth too. Better get him to talk about something else. No! So really need to change the testimony. The problem with the testimony is already pretty obvious. Alright, so what's the problem?
Well, he said he took a drink. And his stomach just did a somersault. But then Misham took a drink and he died. That doesn't make any sense.
That's what we want me to
He said he took one sip and he died on the floor. But he said he took one sip and his stomach did a somersault. So he could have taken just one sip.
Okay. So, what am I doing?
Well, it's slow-acting poison. It wouldn't be an instant death.
There you go! Oh. I thought you were stupid for a second. It's okay.
Oh, no, that's stupid. Smart.
Smart man.
Smart.
Smart boy. I'll give you treats later. You know what? I have a problem with a particular property of the poison used. Trichonane.
Oh! Prosecutor Gavin was quite clear about the poison. A lethal dosage of 0.002 milligrams paralyzes the central nervous system. If you drank that, even you, Mr. Justice, would be reduced to a quivering pile.
Why are you using me as an example? Unfortunately, we weren't told everything. There was a vital omission in Prosecutor Gavin's information.
An omission?
Trichonane is as virulent as he says, but death doesn't come upon ingestion, not immediately. That's because trichonane is slow-acting!
Slow-acting?
What?
According to one forensic scientist, it's one of the most virulent poisons, but absorbing into the body astonishingly slowly. It takes at least 15 minutes from the time it ingested to for adverse effects to show. If we suppose that the moment that Mr. Misham sipped the coffee was when he sealed his fate, then he would have still had time left to enjoy his last cup of joe! Oh, yeah.
Order! What's the meaning of this?
Fucking SCP.
If what the defense says is correct, why, that contradicts the entire testimony we just heard.
Well, Mr. Bushel, anything to say on the record?
So slow acting, SLOWACT, it was virulent, alright, Even then, it had already begun digging his claws into the journalist, He's working on his scoop.
It's Bushel. Yeah? El Bushel. Let's take a trip back down memory lane.
Eh?
Did the victim really die the instant he took a sip? Think it over. This is vital.
Oh, you know what I think, I think that was a not-so-subliminal suggestion, end quote,
I admit it does cause a problem if he died when you say he died. I would be forced to say auf Wiedersehen to my simple case, and you would be forced to say farewell to your article.
Come again?
You can't write a story based on conjecture, can you? And as the case drags on, other reporters will pick up the scent, and you'll be forced to kiss your exclusive scoop goodbye.
Oh, scoop, Oh, look, wait just a sec, just 1 second,
We're waiting, out with it!
I think I just recalled a so-called important detail, A revival of recollection, end quote, a story survival, end quote,
Turning utterly confused, end quote.
Actually, I did not notice something when I visited the studio, I'd heard of poison that takes its sweet time, see,
But that's what I've been saying for the last few minutes, apparently.
Mr. Brushel, are you saying you noticed something that explains what happened?
You bet I am, The antidote for a poisonous contradiction, end quote, you might say,
Or, I still have no idea what you're talking about, end quote, I might say.
I figured you'd out, but only after an in-depth interview, See, thanks to my journalism skills, I know who poisoned that coffee.
Order!
As far as I can tell, the witness is standing by his testimony that Mr. Mission died the instant after he drank.
Oh, of course I'm standing by my testimony, and my dream of exclusive rights to the story.
Ugh, I suppose it was too much to hope for. What was? Of course he wouldn't choose a simple case. Not him.
Him?
Phoenix Wright. Who else? Octon Erdbeschel, report for us if you would. What is it that you noticed?
Oh, it ripped out my ear, you did. Ripped out.
This court is a critical trial of the jury system. I'm afraid no room for doubt is permissible. You will testify to the court about what you noticed.
When I arrived at the studio, Mr. Mission was at his desk. He seemed to be writing a letter, but he quickly sealed the envelope. I thought nothing of it at the time, of course. And now that I think about it, what if he was writing a suicide note?
A suicide note?
Yes, he had this look on his face. Man's face inscrutable as a quadratic equation, end quote. Suicide. Poor Mr. Mission. But that means Vera's innocent.
Would someone commit suicide in the middle of an interview? Yeah, probably.
Oh. Very well, you may begin your cross-examination.
When I arrived at the studio, Mr. Bisham was at his desk. Was there anyone at the studio other than Mr. Bisham?
Well, his daughter, Vera, of course.
Was anyone besides Mr. Bisham and Vera present?
Oh, not a single one. Not a cat, not a rat, not even a mouse.
The only person who didn't belong to that studio there was you, wasn't it, Mr. Bisham?
I know what you're doing. I know your game. Attorney uses classic Rams phenomenon ploy and quote.
If you intend to suggest that this reporter is a suspect, I'm sure you also intend to present evidence supporting that assertion, correct? In the meantime, let's move along, shall we? He seemed to be writing a letter, but he quickly sealed the envelope. So he put the letter away when he saw you.
Early reporter gets the worm in quote. That's my secret.
I'm not sure I follow.
It's the night of the interview. I arrived 15 minutes ahead of schedule. The handle turns, the door opens, and I barge in.
Are you sure that's okay to do? I mean, isn't that unlawful entry, really?
Mr. Mishram seemed to think so. You should have seen him. He crammed his letter into that yellow envelope as best as he could. I know a secret when I spot one, and that was one. It does seem significant. Well, Mr. Justice?
I wonder. It does have the vein of something important.
Add to testimony.
The defense finds this testimony vital, Your Honor.
Very well, please add it to the testimony then. Hey, why not? My account comes free of charge. It was a yellow envelope. I heard it was left at the crime scene. But it wasn't yellow, it was red.
Ooh, let me get through this first. And you saw him seal this yellow envelope with his with the letter?
Hey, don't look at me like that. I saw what I saw. Apollo, you think this might be
our big break? Yeah! What I need to show is some decisive evidence now.
I thought nothing of it at the time. Of course, it was a yellow envelope. Heard it at the crime scene. Oh.
As it just so happens, there was a single letter in a desk drawer at the scene. In a red envelope!
Wow!
Proceed again! Yes? Was a yellow envelope found at the scene of the crime? Unfortunately, no. But, Floyd, it's easy to mistake the color of an envelope. I guess. But not this envelope. You see, it was postmarked already, 7 years ago.
Well, Mr. Brasho,
I can explain that. Drew, right, he wanted to get that letter in an envelope, right? Get it out the side of my PDIs, right? So he grabbed the nearest envelope and crammed away,
And what about the whole red and yellow envelope contradiction, chump?
Well, Mr. Justice, have you anything to say to the witness's claim?
That night, the victim put a letter he had been writing in the red envelope.
It's possible, right? Because he put it... That night, the victim put a letter he had been writing in a red envelope.
Yeah.
Well, we have it in a red envelope.
Yeah.
We have it. So it's... we believe it to be his. But it's impossible because we have a witness who says it was yellow. I don't know.
No.
The victim put a letter he had been writing in a red envelope.
Yeah.
He did.
What is that red envelope?
The red envelope was... I don't know. What is it again?
It said that I deposited $100,000 into your account for your for our business, and please don't talk about this business to anyone. It's basically, you know, a client that he had for for one of his forgeries. But what's so special about that envelope?
Oh, it had some written on it.
That's what I just told you. I just told you what was written on it.
Yeah, it was special because it wasn't sealed.
No, it was.
It was previously sealed, but then it was steamed open.
No.
Why would he write such an important letter and then kill himself?
No. It doesn't say it, actually, but they've said this several times. What's so important about this letter?
It's, well, it's the importance of the letter.
Okay, so, essentially,
it was reused.
No. So, okay, so, this letter was, you know, a letter between himself and the client. So
Yeah.
why is that weird? What's it clearly not?
It's clearly not legal.
No. What did Bushel just suggest?
Suggested it's clearly not. It was delivered to him. He didn't.
He did
write
not
it.
say that.
He didn't write it.
He did not say that.
I don't know what he said. What did he say? Oh, it was postmarked 7 years ago. It's a 7-year-old letter. That's right.
Yeah.
So he didn't write it,
No, he did.
but it was 7 years ago.
Yes.
He
Okay.
never sent it. He opened it up to read it, and he was like, ah, shit, and then shoved it back in.
Close enough. That's impossible. I like your expression. So full of confidence. It's simple, really. As it just so happens, the defense team investigated the contents of this envelope with the assistance of a forensic scientist. What? Note that this letter is addressed to Drew Mitchell.
Whoa.
Why would he address a letter to himself? Let alone send a suicide note to himself!
I've been scooped, uh-huh. Order.
He suggests that it was a suicide note rather than... So it can't be a suicide note, because he addressed it to himself.
Oh, right, so, yeah.
Yeah.
She, bro.
Mr. Prashel, can you explain this to the court?
Oh, my, how could I have forgotten? I suppose this happens to the best of us. Reporter gets old, forgets lots, end quote. I'm still waiting for an explanation, Mr. Prashel. Well, that's a thing. See, after he put his letter in that envelope, Mr. Mitchell sat there searching his desk drawer for something,
His desk drawer?
Yes, a stamp, a so-called postage stamp, end quote,
A stamp, whatever for?
Well, to mail his letter, what else, And then, why, yes, I think I saw him put his letter in the letter box, Yes, it was a yellow envelope, and he put it in that box,
Well, apparently this yellow letter this yellow letter has nothing to do with the case.
Oh, how I wish it did. I wish. Just think if it were a suicide note. What a story. Star right suicide note in front of reporter false. End quote.
Ahem! So it's sane. It has nothing to do with this case. It said,
Yes, Your Honor?
it makes me wonder about the contents of that red envelope. $100,000, quite a good deal of money.
This was from 7 years ago, yeah?
So, am I finished here? I mean, am I finished here? I was thinking of, going home to start writing.
I hate to state what should be pretty obvious to anyone, but when you catch the scent of a story, you make that rather unique face.
Yeah, come on. Attorney has an active imagination, little else, end quote.
Even I noticed something, and my eyes aren't what they used to be. Oh no, I'm starting to understand what all this perceiving stuff is about.
Judge has active imagination, end quote.
Please continue with your testimony. Tell us about the scent of a story.
Hey, I'm the one asking the questions here, usually.
And we'll do this testimony in
The next episode.
Which is
Every single day.
Bye.